Hey everybody, what's up? It's B Show Brian. Thank you for checking out the channel. I wanted to do something pretty interesting for Halloween. We've done some reviews and some reactions to Halloween Ends, but as someone who spent a lot of time online, making me sound like a real popular guy here, a lot of time online when I was in high school discussing these movies on message boards and groups and things like that. It's been a long time since I've seen a movie this divisive amongst the Halloween fan community. And someone said recently Halloween fans are like Trekkies, and I've come to both embrace and hate that because it's so true. But I wanted to get my friend Sam from the Red River podcast and from the band Playing Dead, amazing band that I got to see live in New York last year, amazing podcast that I've got to listen to many times. And I want to talk to him about it because he liked Halloween Ends. I didn't, and I figured we've been trying to get together for about a year now. What better time now than just to dig in? This is all spoilers, so warnings out the window. If you haven't seen the movie yet, go check it out on Peacock. But Sam, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Also, we love Halloween. So like we love the franchise. Like to me, out of the big four, this is the best. To me, Michael Myers was always my favorite. We all love Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, but like to me, there was something about just something about the first two Halloween movies that scared the shit out of me as a kid. So I feel like you got the right guy for sure because I think we both love Halloween. So happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. It's funny you say that about the first two because I have a similar feeling about that, and I feel like, especially with the Carpenter involvement, the first two movies being so effective. I think it's a franchise that if it gets its hooks in you, you're a fan for life. And very similar story. I was just starting out finding horror movies, and a friend of mine had me watch Halloween. My parents were gone. I was actually being babysat by my cousin, so kind of life imitating art there. And I watched the first one. I was hooked. I watched the second one, and I watched both of them like 10 times that weekend. And it was like the weekend of Halloween. I was like 11, 12. I was going trick-or-treating with my buddies, like off on my own for the first time. So this is like my Stand By Me of horror movies. And it sounds like you had a pretty early experience with those first two movies too. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. So mom and pop shops, like renting that stuff. I almost feel like I probably watched two first, because when you're younger, it doesn't even matter. You watch these horror movies, we would go and pick out the ones. And I feel like probably two had that pumpkin that was like, with the skull. So to me, like I was probably fixated on that. But yeah, one and two just like really affect like to the point where I would have reoccurring Michael Myers dreams for like the first like 20 years of my life. Like it really seeped into my psyche. And I remember, of course, renting three right after, and just we knew right away. It was like we were like, oh no, you can't rent this one. You have to avoid you have to avoid this one because as kids we really hated three because it didn't have Michael Myers. So, but yeah, we the music too. We would always imitate the music. It just everything about it was so perfect. And sometimes I try to think to myself, like, is it just because I had like 40 plus years to have these movies sink in? Is it because when you watch it when you're young, you're attached to it? Because if a 44-year-old sat down and watched Halloween for the first time or part two, like would it be as effective?
Yeah, I mean, I my daughter watched three with me. I cut out like the motel room scenes and stuff, and she really dug it. But yeah, it's really interesting because I hear these stories that Halloween's back in theaters, and I think it's out this year again too in some select markets. But I've heard like teenagers watching it and laughing, and I've seen people on message boards and Facebook groups saying like, "Oh, that's terrible. They don't appreciate it." But the first time I watched The Exorcist, I laughed my ass off, especially the crucifix scene. So like that to me, it's hard to judge because I enjoyed those movies and laughed at a lot of them when I was a kid, but I still have a lot of reverence for them now. And I know time has moved on, but I wonder if someone's going to have the same reaction to like Terrifier, if a teenager watches Terrifier 2 right now that you or I had to Halloween, just because society's different. I don't know. And plus, I grew up in the suburbs. I live right now in a town that's very similar to Haddonfield, so it's almost like this is made for me. And John and Shaheen from Break the Apocalypse, shout out to them. they used to laugh because I like Halloween so much. But it's like, you guys don't understand. Like, I grew up in a town like that. That could have happened and probably did happen down the street. So that was like my bread and butter. So I don't know.
And and that was like the beauty of like those first two movies. It's like escape mental patient kills people. It's like it's not really that far of a stretch. You're like, I guess that could happen, right? If someone escapes from any place and he just happens to kill a few people. And the one thing that those two movies had that the newer ones did not have, and I to me it's the DNA of the actual Halloween movies, is just the suspense of him walking. That was always a thing too. Like when we were kids, we talked about how Michael Myers could walk and you could run, and he will always catch up to you. The part I'm thinking of is Laurie Strode like crawling from the parking lot of the hospital, and like you're sitting there and you're like, holy shit. Like the way they film it is just so like you're so on edge to this day when I watch it. And I feel like a lot of the newer movies don't really have that, especially like a Halloween Kills, where it's like you're watching like a Jackie Chan movie in some ways, where you're just like, what is going on right now?
Well, see, that's one of the reasons I don't know if people, a great point, the Jackie Chan thing. I don't know if a lot of people would appreciate that type of tension because like like my kids watch TikTok videos. She doesn't have a TikTok, but my daughter watches TikTok videos on YouTube. And I'll watch Gary Vee and they'll be like, put content out quick, 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 just get there. And people rush through. And they joke about the millennial pause. Like the millennial pause is just us waiting for the camera to record so you get the whole message. And I think just rushing through things, and even the Star Wars movies, the new ones were like that, where it was like, all right, now we're here. And then we go here. Now we got to go get this. It's like you don't have time to stop and absorb everything and let the gravity of what's going on sink in, let alone like the focal point, the climax of the movie be this bitch crawling across the parking lot while some crazy dude's coming up behind her. So
Slowly.
Exactly. Just like to this point, my wife will say, like, why do you watch these movies? They're so stupid. But if we sit on the couch and watch them, she'll be like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a panic attack. I gotta go to bed. And it's like, that is why.
Wow, that's pretty funny too. Luckily my girlfriend likes horror movies, although sometimes when I put something on and she sees it's 1980 something, she's like, oh, we're not watching this today. I'm like, why? She's like, you've already seen this 18 times. I'm like, I like comfort food and I could watch it over again. But so the thing with the suspense is like Halloween in its DNA, if you ask me, and I'm sure John Carpenter, was that suspense, and that's what you wait for. So that's what these movies are. Later on, it didn't really turn into that, especially on certain like ones. And I'll always go back to Kills, because Kills was just like, what the fuck is going on right now? Same thing with like the Rob Zombie remakes. But yeah, that's not what I'm looking for when I go see Halloween. But when I watched Terrifier, which was 2.5 hours long, I needed to be rapid pace. That's the pace that I'm used to. It's like Art the Clown. There's nothing subtle about him. He's just a fucking savage, and he's very funny. So Friday the 13th as well. It's like I don't want to wait for certain things, but Halloween is just different. So it just depends on to me, like what franchise or like what the villain is.
Yeah. Now you mentioned something interesting. You brought up Halloween 3 and how when you were a kid, you really didn't like it because it didn't have Michael in it. And I'm glad that people have come to appreciate it, because even though it was kind of a fish out of water at the time, it was kind of a throwback to 50s and 60s, like pod movies. I've seen people try to connect Halloween Ends to Halloween 3, and not just the cool Silver Shamrock ending that someone put together.
Brilliant.
You know who it was?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll have to check it out.
This guy, I think some guy, the name Eddie Spaghetti, posted it.
Yes.
I don't know if he made it under a different, maybe that his YouTube channel is different, but that would have been fucking really cool.
Now, do you think, and that's one of those things where I've heard George Lucas one time say, you do some things for plot movement, you do some things for character development, you do some things just out of whimsy. That would have been a whimsy type thing, because I don't think the greater audience at large would have knew what the hell that was.
Sure.
But it would have been a cool hook for a future movie because if they don't know what the hell it is, then oh wait, what's going on here now? So it's kind of interesting. But the way people tried to connect it was people will appreciate Halloween Ends the way in the future, the way they appreciate Halloween 3 now. Do you think that's the case? Because I know you like the movie, but you also said you understand why some folks didn't like it. So do you think it'll come to have the same appreciation in time?
Okay, so I went to go see this on a Thursday with my girlfriend. Like we always do, we try to beat like the fucking teenage herbs and shit that will fuck up your shit if you go on a Friday or Saturday. So we go
Yeah.
Thursday with the rest of the fucking like hardcores. Uh,
Mm.
and
I do the same thing too, man.
and about 40 and it's funny because there was a girl sitting behind me she didn't talk loud, but she spoke through the whole movie.
Oh
She was
no.
talking to someone. Like it was, I couldn't make out what she was saying. It was just like a whisper, and I'm thinking like, what the fuck is like? It's just insane. Like I'm just thinking like, what could you possibly not be getting? It's almost like she was like doing like a commentary on the movie or
Oh,
something.
I was gonna say, is it like one of those mafia things where they have to go in public and cover their mouths when they talk because the
I
lip readers are there?
I have no. It was just this girl. She was just there. She sounded like a young. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I feel bad. I can't like. So anyway,
Mm.
so 45 minutes into the movie, it is like, in my head I'm thinking like I'm invested, but I'm invested in this movie that is just so fucking beyond anything I could really wrap my head around at the time. My girlfriend turns to me and she's like, what the fuck is going on right now? So I knew she wasn't feeling it. I was in, like, I was just in with the characters. I was in with that cold open. I wanted to see where this was going to go. So I immediately recognized that blue font, and I'm thinking like, wow, third movie, and you have like the Halloween 3 font, and we haven't seen Michael yet. I'm like, gee, I wonder if they're like kind of like doing like it has to be like a purposeful thing. Do I think it's going to have that recognition? Who the fuck knows? Like,
Mm.
it's possible. Like the connection is just kind of like where Halloween 3 was just such a curveball. And later on, when I got older, I appreciated it's like, okay, it's like masks that fucking kill kids, and there's like fucking centipedes and snakes coming out of it, and it was such a sinister plot that like you almost had to appreciate just how evil it was on a standalone basis. But it had nothing, it's just not even, might as well not even be a Halloween movie. So that, but it took time for me to one day just put it on and be like, okay, I love Tom Atkins, and the practical effects were great. This one, Halloween Ends, by the end of the movie, like I it took me 24 hours to digest it. I don't know how long it took you. Like, didn't you, like, by the end, I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this. I really need to think about this because I don't know what the fuck just happened. But like, I really need to sit for like a day, and like a day into it, I'm like, I think I liked it. Then I rewatched it on Peacock without that attachment. It just is kind of like, okay, like no expectations this time. And I rewatched it. I'm like, it's a pretty good movie, but I get how people are like, yo, this is fucking ridiculous. And most people have said that to me.
Yeah, and the ratings, I don't like to go a lot of times by critics because, and no offense to critics, I'm friendly with quite a few on Twitter now, but um, even going back to the Siskel and Ebert days, they never really seemed to appreciate why people like these movies, and it was almost a badge of honor if you got a bad review from Siskel and Ebert if you were a horror movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in some ways, it's like, yeah, fuck you, Rotten Tomatoes, like whatever. But when not only the audience score and the critic score is like under 50 for a Halloween movie, the final movie in this trilogy and this 40-year story, yeah, really underwhelming. And I wish I would have waited. I put out 2 quick reaction videos that night after I watched it. And I really wish I would have waited just to absorb everything because I was still in that mode, that whirlwind of like, what the fuck was this? And what was that about? And why this? Instead of crystallizing everything, and I would have been more coherent with, I guess, how I felt. But at the same time, I've not watched it back again. I kind of want to.
Once. So you've seen it once?
Once, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
what I'm hoping, is that my disdain for it was more because of expectations, and I should have walked into it with no expectations, except Halloween Kills, I really dug in a way because they almost were setting up this transcendence of Michael Myers. And I
Yeah,
don't,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
and I know you're familiar with because we've talked about it, but I don't know if you've ever read or seen the notes on the unmade Carpenter Halloween 4 script.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's what they did was it was almost like a,
absolutely.
yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, and like it's like this ghost for those who don't know. It's like this ghostly apparition or this phantom in the shape of Michael Myers, and it's not really Michael Myers. It's the shape. It's evil, but it takes that form and does some really interesting things. And I didn't think they were going to do that exactly because there's reasons they passed up on that idea too. But I saw what
Was that the one where he's like a giant at the end, right? Was
yeah,
that
like the 50-foot tall in front of
50-foot one,
the
like the
drive-in
drive-in?
movie
Yeah,
theater.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
So like I didn't think they were going to go that far, but I thought, okay, maybe they're doing something different here and setting this up. And then he was just pretty much comatose most of the movie, and I'm like, okay. And then they start rolling with this other cat, and I'm like, okay, maybe. And I picked up on like the Christine vibes. I'm like, okay, let's follow this, but like it never really took off or sunk in for me. I just kept waiting for something, and I was just like, man, really?
I was hoping that he was just going to feed victims to Michael. You
Oh.
know, that's kind of what I was hoping, and then like it would get out of hand. You know, like he would like take like people that were fucking with him and throw them in there. But once they became like a, you know, like a duo, it was just kind of weird because I was like, I don't, that part was weird. Like when he fucking drags him into like that fucking sewer,
Yeah.
and he wakes up and Michael is just what hanging out in a crevice or something, just like it's just like hanging out in a crevice, like, and he grabs him. I'm just like, oh, I wonder what the hell's going on here. So there are holes to be punched, but I think, man, you know, there's something about, maybe I just felt like it was a good movie. You know, and maybe that's the comparison to Halloween 3, where you're like, this is just a legitimately good movie. And on the Halloweenies podcast, they mentioned a really cool point where before the 2018 movie, McBride and you know, David Gordon Green went up to Carpenter, and they were just like, hey, we really have this like fresh take, this idea on how maybe like this franchise could go on. And I think Carpenter was like, nah, don't do that. So I feel like in a way they probably did, because it doesn't make sense how two brilliant guys decide to go from the transcending thing to where he like kills the whole fucking town basically, to now he's just some like hobbled guy in a sewer. That is bizarre. But then again, like, I don't know how Hollywood works. Maybe there's just so many writers, and you're just like, you know, it's like a jury deliberation where, you know, it's like, okay, fine, well, I guess we'll do this, and I just want to go make fucking Eastbound and Down season 18 or some shit.
Eastbound and Down is a good fucking show, by
I
the way.
fucking love that show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point about too many cooks in the kitchen. It's the old John Peters, I want a giant spider in the Superman movie story, if anyone's ever heard that, where Kevin Smith ultimately walked away from that project. And then lo and behold, giant metal spider in Wild Wild West, produced by John Peters.
John Peters is wild. So he was in that. I mean, the character was played by Bradley Cooper, but in Licorice Pizza. Man, wild dude. And then he was on the Rogan podcast not too long ago. He's got some cool stories.
I haven't seen it yet. I saw the clip on there, but I wanted to set some time aside to get through that. But you know, you're a writer. You write your songs, right, for Playing Dead.
Sure.
Yeah, great. And I always feel bad because I never know who writes the songs, but there's a couple lines that really stuck out to me. Like every time I come around, you jump back in your coffin.
Sure.
And I was always like, man, that's a great line and good job, man. And then I'm like, wait, did he write that?
Okay. I was like, I don't even know what song that is.
Oh, that's
No, it's I know what it is. I just said when you mentioned it, I was like, God, I wonder what that is. But
I remember Sister Maggie.
Sister Maggie. Yeah. It was a Cypress Hill line that I took.
Oh, okay. Well,
the name of the title.
I was gonna say, yeah. See, I'm trying to give you credit because I think you're a great songwriter, but
no. I remember Sister Maggie. is
Yes.
the name of the song. And it's from Stoned is the Way of the Walk. I remember Sister Maggie, breasts were kind of saggy. The
Gotcha.
line that you speak of, yes, that was just kind of like falling out with a friend of mine.
Yeah, no, just well put, man. Um, but like this movie almost seemed like a story dictated by plot. And what I mean is, for those who may not know, is there's an old Stephen King line where he says he doesn't like outlining his plot and then writing according to the outline because you box yourself in and you don't give your characters room to move. And there's times where you have ideas for where you want things to go, but in the process of writing, your characters or the story will take it in a completely different direction. So if you plot these things out and we know we want to get to this, we know we specifically want to do that, then it kind of hampers and ham fists some of the things. So some of the dialogue is kind of reminiscent of that. I mean, I've heard Carpenter say in interviews, the two evils, the shaman around the fire says there's evil on the horizon or there's evil here in our hearts. I don't know if that was put there by him, if that was homage to things he said, but it seemed really ham-fisted for Laurie to be saying that in this
Oh,
house.
really? I actually really like that. I really
I,
it worked for me because it's I don't know, it just worked for me. It put her in like a different position, and she was just kind of like, I got my eye on you. And I thought it was like a good bit of dialogue considering, like a lot of the series really, like when you think of the dialogue, like, in what part four, five, six,
yeah.
fucking set, like it's not like, I don't think of Halloween having like amazing dialogue. It's not what sticks out to me.
Right. No, that's true. And maybe it's just because I've heard too many interviews and like stated that exact same way, word for word. But my larger point to that was that was there's a lot of things that really felt like it was a story driven by plot. Like, why is Michael comatose? Well, I believe Carpenter said recently in an interview he was never mythical or whatever. That was kind of smoke and mirrors for the movie to kick it up a notch as far as terror. But he was really just a man in a mask. And so it felt like, what do we do with Michael? The whole town, he's been shot and stabbed and hit with a pitchfork. And like at the end of this movie, he should be dead. And to me, it's like, okay, well, either he's not and he's stronger, like was alluded to,
Yes.
or he's dead. And it was a weird
Yeah.
choice,
It
And
was. It's
yeah,
that part is completely bizarre. Where you kind of prop him up in kills, where to be this like it's like, oh, you can't even like you can't kill him. And then it just, by the time you get to ends, it doesn't make sense. It was almost like, we'll just get rid of everything we said about kills and stuff. And the funny thing about 2018, maybe I had like a honeymoon phase with that movie because I was so excited after like the Rob Zombie remakes, and of
yeah,
course Resurrection. Those were the last three things. So it's like, wow, these are just. I don't even want to think of of these three movies.
yeah. Where could
Uh,
this go from here? You know what I mean?
so I was really excited and I watched it and I thought it was great. And then I watched Kills and I didn't think it was that great. And now like I feel like that honeymoon kind of wore off. So now when I watch 2018 or Kills, it just doesn't, like, I think to myself, is it better than one? No. Better than two? No. Better than four? No. I don't even think it's better than five, which is pretty atrocious. It's not better than six because six feels like a Halloween movie.
Right.
Um, and then H2O was kind of supposed to be the definitive ending to this story. And it made me appreciate that more because I watched H2O not too long before those movies came out. And I kind of felt indifferent towards it in a movie theater. So I was probably like 20 years old
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, yeah, whatever. But rewatching it, there was great suspense in it. And I think that's what I loved about it. Like he was still lurking in the back. It wasn't like as soon as you see Michael Myers, he's gonna fucking like kill 18 people, where you don't really have a chance to kind of like have some sort of fear towards him because it's so like over the top. That might have been the definitive ending of the story to me, with the head decapitation, and obviously they ruin it with resurrection and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you mentioned that, and we talked about spoilers. I actually disagreed with John and Shaheen when we talked a little bit about this. I liked the way they disposed of Michael in the end of the movie. I didn't do like the funeral procession type thing, But it's like if you're gonna get rid of him and it's gonna be for good, dump him in the fucking meat grinder. Just get it over with, you know. What I always joked with my friends, like they're like, "Well, he always comes back. Why not? Why wouldn't they just cut his arms and legs off and bury him in different, parts of the world?" And it's like, all right, if this is definitive, it's got to be definitive. There's no switcheroo with the mask. They dumped him in a car crusher and he's fucking gone. So that I kind of liked, and it reminds me of Halloween 2018, where like this, I won't do the long version, but like it was like going to Chipotle and you order this big steak burrito and you take a bite out of the burrito and you're like, man, that steak seasoned really well, but is that a fucking Band-Aid? What the fuck? And then the next bite, it's like, man, that corn's sweet, but is that drywall? Like, why is there drywall in my burrito? Like, it felt like every time I liked something, something else just gave me that feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I think you can pick and choose moments from Kills and from 2018 and from this movie as well, that it wasn't like enough of one thing that made me happy, I guess. So,
Another thing too, I'm gonna say what I feel ruined a lot of these movies, the trailer on all three of them.
yeah.
And it, I probably shame on me for indulging so much on them, because they would have like three trailers for every movie. It's like, okay, final trailer. And it's like, man, it's like you're giving away so much of that good stuff. Like, in the first movie where the babysitter's trying to close the closet and
Oh,
he's in there,
yeah.
Kills, same thing. This one where like I guess you see Michael, which obviously isn't Michael in the movie, come for Lori and she shoots him. But the whole time you're waiting at the end, like, oh, this is what's going to happen. Brutal, like just completely butchering. And maybe it's not meant for us to watch as diehards. Maybe it's more for the casuals that are just going to put on Peacock and be like, oh yeah, I saw like I had a friend actually messaged me and he's like, oh, what's up with this Halloween movie? And I'm like, what do you mean what's up with it? He's like, I don't know, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, he's like, is it good? And I'm like, have you seen the last two? No. Should I watch the last two? And I'm thinking like that's maybe this is what the normal consensus is. It's just like if you talk about enough about it, somebody will put it on, and it's for people like us completing a series, it's just like, why the fuck would I watch Ends if I didn't watch the last two? At that point, you just don't give a fuck about the series, so don't watch it.
Yeah. I know you're not a wrestling fan anymore. You've watched it a long time ago, but like it reminds me of diehard wrestling fans that have seen, let's say you've seen a guy in front of 200 people and you know all the stuff he can do. And then finally, maybe he makes it and he gets a position and he's in this high profile situation and you go to watch it and you're like, man, this is dog shit. Because you know the potential to check all those boxes for you as a diehard of whatever that genre is. I'm sure music's the same way too. You may see a band in front of 200 people and tell everyone how great they are. And then finally, this band makes it, and they're doing more generic stuff because they're trying to, as they said in Wayne's World, be the Bee Gees, not Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that reminds me of with this movie too. Is it's just for the masses, it's not for the diehards, and I guess that's cool, but I don't know. I mean, they tried to give Easter eggs here and there, and I missed the Halloween 3 font at the beginning, but um, I don't know. Just I appreciate taking chances. In this is a movie that, with all due respect, probably shouldn't have had 12 sequels. The first movie is a very standalone film, and they've had to try to come up with a lot of ideas, and some are good, some aren't. And God, what am I? I'm not there contributing and trying, but yeah, it was a miss for me. But sorry, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, no regrets on the sequels to me. Like I love them. They're like staples I watch, and the older I get, the more I appreciate 2 and 4. Those are just killer.
Yeah,
Even though I hate fucking kids in movies, obviously Jamie Lloyd I think did a great job. Danielle Harris. There's something about 4 that really fucking gets it right, man. That intro, it's still dark. There's a lot of tension. That whole ending scene when they're in the Meeker house and he's in there, and then you see his mask, and then it disappears, and then he's like chasing him through. Yo, it's fucking awesome. Then they blow him away. I love that he like falls through this thing, and it's just
Like a
it's
mine shaft. Yeah.
listen, at the end of the day, the production team is trying to keep the money going and the jobs going. So, more power to you. It's like when Saw, people are like, oh, what are they gonna do now? And I'm like, I don't know, be employed for like another
Yeah.
fucking year. Like that's what it's like, hey, if that's what you're gonna do, you either go watch it or you don't. But it's like if you're able to pull a fucking Saw out of your ass every fucking year for like 8 years in a row or whatever the fuck it was, it's like good for you.
Yeah, it's Halloween 4. Man, you just brought something up. I never noticed the face in the background when she's talking to the sheriff because
Yeah.
I'd always watched it on AMC on like
Oh,
Fear Fest. And so I got the Blu-ray set about a year or two ago. Well, a couple years ago now. I'm getting
oh,
old.
it's so good.
Sitting there watching. He's in the rocking chair, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what the fuck? I had to go back and rewind. I'd never noticed that before.
Yeah, which is such a throwback to like the first two. When in the first one when he kills Annie, it's so great because he follows her so long. He follows her for so long, and she's like she's gonna drop off Lindsay, and then she's got to pick up Paul, I think his name is,
Yeah.
and then she's like, she goes to the car, and then she realizes that it's locked. She goes to get the keys, right? And then she goes back to the car and then she opens it up without turning the key in. And when she sits in the car after all this time, it was like a 20-minute sequence. She's like, huh. She's like, how the hell was it open now? And then that's when he comes behind her. And it's just little things like that because you know what's coming and you know what's waiting. And you would see his mask in the back and they're talking. It's like, that stuff's very effective. And I feel like not a lot of movies do that. And I think, like I said, if I watch Saw, if I watch Terrifier, if I watch movies like that, I want over the top brutality every minute of that hour. But for something like this, like I feel like the Michael Myers DNA is, very methodical, very laid back, and very much in the background.
And maybe it was because they were trying to accomplish so much in a short time period with going in this different direction and still trying to have Michael and Laurie involved. I feel like they tried, but they didn't. I think it was too subtle with Michael because they mentioned in the beginning that there's all these missing people and that like
Yeah.
there's a billboard and all this stuff. Like I feel like they could have kept that up a little bit more and created more mystique with like, okay, is Michael killing people? Is this
Or
other
is
guy?
yeah, I really wish they would have done that. I wish they would have done the mask at the end. There's a lot of things, and a lot of times I don't feel that way. I watch something and I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. But this
Right.
one felt like it had so many missed opportunities that for people that are so capable, like Danny McBride and that whole team, I wonder what it's like. It's like you mention something and it's like, it's like you're in this room and everyone's like, oh yeah, but if we do this and we got to do that, and then it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't know what maybe Key and Peele will do a fucking skit on what that was like later on. And a lot of missed opportunity, but I think at the end of the day, you had three very capable. Like if you erased everything, like they said, leading up, except for part one, these are very like cool movies. They look great, well acted. The only ones that I have to say, there's something about Kills that just fucking, I don't know, it just didn't connect with me, which is funny because it connected with you, and I wonder why.
Hmm. I don't know if it just made sense that Michael was pissed. And I looked at it almost like a Charles Bronson movie where like
It
he's not
was.
he's not creeping and stalking. He is just killing motherfuckers on his way home. And brutal. He got set on fire. She thought she had him. And I think it was more or less like I enjoyed that, but I think it was that background and the way they were setting up Michael's evil. I think that had a lot to do with it. Was like I got that. Whereas Halloween Ends, I got what they were trying to accomplish and what they were doing, but I really didn't like that direction. I think with Halloween Kills, I forgave a lot of the stuff that took a left turn from what Michael was or the shape was or whatever you want to call it, because I got what they were trying to accomplish in the broader sense with Michael's evil and spreading with the town. And And like that's the other thing too is some things sound good on paper but don't pan out right. Like the evil dies tonight. Like everyone was annoyed by that. It was supposed to be annoying because it's about like the social contagion of holy shit, something bad happens. We got to do something. But
Yeah, I
but it
that
wasn't
didn't
that
bother
guy's
me either.
fault. It doesn't matter. We have to do something.
Yeah,
But it was annoying.
that didn't really bother me that much. You know, not as much as like, and nothing really bothered me. Like I'm just remembering like when Michael like kicked open the door and that girl shot her, like the nurse shot her head off or something. It was just,
Wait, what? Wait.
when they were in the car, remember? And like she went to go shoot him, and he like
Oh
like
yeah, that was dumb.
pushed it. I mean, it was like an action movie. It was completely
Yes.
like straight up like watching The Raid, like something like that. And yeah, and another thing too in the first one that I didn't really like was when Sartain decided to like go bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like that was weird because I don't really feel like it needed that. I like the I want to see him in the open and to see if I can get him to do something. I don't think he needed to like stab the fucking cop in the neck.
Yeah.
um that was definitely like I'm like, you didn't really even need to do that, or like I someone mentioned, I forgot who it was, like if Lori had followed the bus and was drunk driving and then caused the accident, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, and like that's the thing too is you could do social commentary and it makes sense, and that would have been perfect because hey, you're not telling people not to drive drunk, but you're looking at the irresponsibility of this grieving person who can't let this go, and now she is inevitably. I think they tried to touch on it in this movie. She's inevitably bringing about all this bad shit that's now affecting other people. And in this era where, not to get too philosophical on this, but where a lot of people are affected by an addicted family member or friend, where that just radiates throughout your entire peer group and everyone's affected in some way by it, that was one of those subtle things that could have been thrown in there that would have still made sense. Um, or, Sartain could have even offered more, but again, missed opportunities. He said, Michael talks to me. He says this, he says that, he just chooses not to. Well, that could have even been expanded because just little nuggets of things that could have been expanded and they chose to go in different directions for different reasons. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. I will say, if I want to talk about the good parts of ends,
Yeah.
the music. I thought the music was very cool, very interesting stuff, like, the Cramps to Sebado. I mean, like, who the fuck throws a Sebado song in a soundtrack? There was that really cool like synthwave song when Corey was riding the motorcycle. It just gave it like extra power. I think that I really liked the radio DJ. I think that was I'm pretty sure that was the Cramp song, Teenage Werewolf, when he gets his face smashed in and his
I think so,
tongue
yeah.
cut. Very cool stuff. For that added a lot to me for me, I think.
Same thing with Terrifier 2, not to jump movies, but
Same.
oh my God, I was in love. Like
Yep.
I'm trying not to hit him up because I know he's busy, but I was going to text Uncle Creepy and say, hey, are you guys releasing a soundtrack? Because that would be fucking amazing.
So it's up on Spotify. Yeah. So like I put up I just did a for Red River, we did our reviews of Halloween Ends, Hellraiser, and Terrifier 2. So it was three separate segments that I pieced together, like 30 minutes a piece. And in between the segments, I put like songs from Halloween Ends and Terrifier 2.
Oh, cool. Because like I fell in love. Is like when they showed her at the beginning. I think it was when she was making her costume.
Very beginning. Yep.
It's like, oh my God, I'm in. I'm all for it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the Midnight song. The Midnight is the name of the band. They have a lot of cool stuff.
Very cool. But yeah, the only thing I didn't get about the radio tower, was kind of cool, the aesthetic that they used. But like they had shots at Halloween Kills in the flashback where the cops are standing looking into the distance and you see this beaconing radio tower, almost planting a seed. Like maybe there's like they hung on that for an extended amount of time, a couple beats. So it's almost like, okay, does that mean something? And then it's a central place in the next movie. But really, other than just Corey saying it's like a beacon drawing out to me. I don't know if there's more beneath the surface or if I'm just reading into it, but it seemed like it had more significance than they went into.
I'm just like wondering how they got to that doctor's house when he killed the doctor and the nurse.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
thinking like what did Michael do? Did he like walk there with Corey? Did they ride a car? Like how did they and like what did they walk there? A motorcycle? I don't know. Like I'm just like picturing like it's like, hey, we're gonna go to this house, and Michael's just like, oh,
Yeah, maybe he talked to Corey. He's like,
like seriously,
right,
how the fuck?
left.
Yeah, and make a right left, and it would have been, yeah. Once again, I mean, listen, those kills were great. The fact that Corey was doing a lot of that stuff. I wish he would have lived or have been like somewhat kind of like, wounded and maybe still, like in action movies when you get shot in the shoulder and you're like, oh, okay, he's gonna survive.
Yep.
I always knew that if I ever got shot, it would need to be in the shoulder because I would live till the end of the movie.
It's in and the radio station. I'll go back because I want to throw some stuff in there that I like too because I didn't hate the whole thing. But that kill where the tongue is on the record as it's spinning and she's listening to it, and that was cool too. It wasn't just in the radio station for us to hear. Allison's driving in the car with it on the radio and
Yeah.
hears
Yep.
skipping, and she's like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah. Also, Darcy, the mail girl, was there.
Yeah, she
And
was a receptionist, right?
yes, and she said that her part, like she shot her part. It was like a graphic death scene, but they cut it. It was
Mm.
like one of those like, cutaway things where she's dead and stuff. But I think that they're going to release it for, I guess, the Blu-ray or whatever the fuck.
Hmm, very cool. Speaking of cut scenes, I don't know if you've heard any of the rumors about cut endings that were screened and they switched them at the last minute.
No.
Okay, so I don't know if this is legit or not, but I wanted to get your opinion on it to see what you would have thought of this ending. Excuse me. Apparently, someone had mentioned, whether this is true or not, we need some confirmation, that there was a scene at the end where Lori kind of starts to turn evil, where her granddaughter comes to her at the end of the movie and like she starts to lose it. And I think she goes to like choke and strangle her granddaughter and then brings herself out. And she says, "Get out before I can't like restrain myself anymore." And it was just that like perpetuating evil, like she just can't get over it. And I know they wanted to have a good ending for Lori, but to me, it just felt too nice. Like it felt too wrapped up. And I just wanted to understand. I'm not saying it would have been a good idea to make Lori evil at the end. I think people would have farted at that too. But what do you think about that idea too of Lori at the end turning evil? Not to be the next Myers, but just to show that, yeah, you're right, evil never dies.
Uh, nah. I was, after that movie, it was fine. The way it ended, it's just she had some sort of peace. The sheriff, I always forget his name. I played by Will Patton,
Mhm.
talking about cherry blossoms, or I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then they go through the house just like the first one, and then you see the mask on there, which is interesting. That's where we talked about like, man, if they would have just did the close up and showed like the silver shamrock on it,
Mhm.
that would have been fucking awesome. Because then it would have been like, okay, because so every time, and I think maybe it was unintentional. When you take the mask off, he kind of stops what he's doing to put it back on. He did it in the first one, and I think maybe some of these guys noticed that because they did it in the first one, and then when he was trying to kill Lindsay in Kills, she basically started to take off his mask, and he stopped, and then obviously Corey took his mask, in some weird way, maybe like that was the driving force. Maybe there was something in there that was like making him immortal. Whatever. Once they took it off, they were able to kill him, which is fucking ridiculous. But this is a movie, so why not?
Right. They've done stranger shit in this franchise. So
Ah, yes, yeah,
um to that point, someone had told me because there was some discussion after Halloween Kills. Like, did Michael speak at the end of Halloween Kills? I don't know if you've seen
yeah,
that
yep,
clip
yep,
going around.
yep.
Um, I don't know, maybe, maybe not. But
I don't think so.
someone said something about there's a trait in, I think it's schizophrenics, where they obsess on objects or they obsess on certain things. And that if he is schizophrenic and someone took that mask off and that's his thing, that perhaps that's a reason maybe why he stopped. So it's funny that you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I took away from one. I mean, obviously 2018 kills, and then this where it's like they were between that and like the fact that Corey kept looking at his cut hand. It was like some sort of, it was just way too many times and intentional for it to mean nothing. It was just like, okay, he's infected with something, just little things that were, you could decipher it, but only Danny McBride and David Gordon Green know, like, and the other two writers, obviously. But we could dive into that like Under the Silver Lake and look at all the clues.
Yeah, it reminded me of the new Candyman in a way, where like
Hated
he's
it.
you hated it, really?
I did.
Oh, no kidding. But like where the new guy is, he has these wounds and these bees are following him, and he's got this festering sore, and seems to almost be turning into the Candyman that we knew before. So again, there's a lot of little things. You know what? Maybe they knew that if they went full stop on some of this stuff, it would be a little too on the nose or obvious, and maybe people wouldn't like it. So they kind of left it more abstract. And maybe the more we talk about that, maybe that's why they're putting things in there. And like the radio tower, I was thinking, what is this? Is it a Twin Peaks thing where like the electricity is causing some sort of weird shit to happen? But um,
I think
yeah,
anything. I think human nature. You could decipher anything. It's 9:55 right now, and I could look at some sort of significance in that time. That's what people do with religion or anything else. It's just like, what if, and you pontificate on certain things. So that's awesome. That's the beauty of watching anything. You could just break down anything. And like I mentioned that movie Under the Silver Lake. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
no, no.
So that movie is fucking brilliant. So it's the guy that made It Follows. It's his follow-up movie. And this guy sees codes and things in everything that he sees, and it's a really bizarre movie. I couldn't recommend it more.
Interesting. Um, where do you want to see the franchise go from here?
Uh
Just, I mean, as a longtime Halloween fan, someone who loves and has reverence for this franchise like I do, like, what are you not expecting, but like, where would you, like, if someone said, "Hey, Sam, we want you to be like the runner or project runner for this. Where are we going to take this?"
wow. I mean, you can't really build off this. It doesn't make sense because then you wouldn't get Michael Myers, which is what everyone wants.
Right.
Um, you're just gonna have to start fresh. You're gonna have to go. I would like to see something. I don't know, maybe even like take it. Let's get that sequel with Jamie. You know,
Yeah.
it's the one thing that I think people really responded to. And there was a script. I know Joe Blow just did like a Joe Blow is like that site. They do a lot of cool YouTube videos, and I think there was a script where it's like evil Jamie and then her uncle and all this other shit. It seemed kind of weird, but you don't have to use that one in particular. But
No.
it
But
would be
everyone says it's weird, but they just did that with Halloween Ends, where they have two people out there. So,
yeah.
you know,
No, but you like I think that would be a great place to take it. Just it seems like the story, like you could just take that story because obviously five was just so bad. It still had its moments and it still felt like a Halloween movie for sure. But it's just those cops with that music in the back, like it was just brutal. That mask, brutal, just completely awful. The Man in Black, like I love that the director was like, I think it was like one of the cards was like, I don't know, just make something up, and there was just like this Man in Black, and it's like, all right, you know what? We'll just let the next director figure out who this guy is.
what a dick.
And I'm a Halloween 6 apologist. To me, it's the fourth maybe like the fifth, fourth or fifth best in the series. Definitely top five. Where it's just I feel like they did everything that they could do to explain that stupid plot point. And Paul Rudd was great in it. Like Loomis's last hurrah. Uh, so yeah, I would do four. I would just pick it up from four and take it from there. And I think a lot of people would be really on board with that.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be an easy one to explain away, I guess, is if you're gonna do like the marketing, it's like I hate to say multiverse, but like, there was in the world of Halloween or in the universe of Halloween, there was this other story that went unfulfilled. And then as you're explaining that, show Halloween 4, show the end. And then
And
where did it go from here?
then you could basically still do that whole evil thing because it's like, okay, well, how the hell did it just transfer into, his niece?
Or even if you don't make her evil and she fights back, which I don't know. I don't know which way I think I'd want it to go, but it would make more sense if she's evil, I guess. Just to do something where it picks up and now she's an adult and she's got kids and maybe she's like the Laurie Strode had a rough road, but she was still an outsider, but a citizen of Haddonfield. Or maybe Jamie's been on benders and got her shit together and she's like a single mom trying to keep, and I know it's sort of Halloween H2O-esque. I just mean give her more of an edge. Like maybe she does struggle with that X, Y, or Z. And now she's getting her shit together and here's Michael Myers. Or maybe it's her vendetta to try to find Michael or something like that. I just think there's enough meat on the bone with her. I agree with you. If you're going to do something, do that, or just start completely over and retell that original story. But that's kind of hard to do. Those are big shoes to walk in.
Kind of hard to do because it's just like, at the end of the day, you would have to do part one. And it's like, okay, cool. It's like, so we're going to have, another Halloween, and it's like if you told me you're going to remake, I think we were talking about like what movies we would remake on one of the episodes we just did for Halloween for October.
Right.
And I think I mentioned Maniac Cop because it's like, okay, Maniac Cop is shitty enough where you could improve on it. Like the idea is cool. We remember it. It's like, okay, this is a fun movie, but by no means is, it's a low budget horror movie. You look at, you're going to remake Halloween and it's like, gee, how do you improve on this? It's like, you can't, it's impossible. You can't. So it's like, you're already fucked.
Yeah, you almost have to take the baton from the first one and move on to a different direction or something.
I wish they would have taken it from the second one. It's like, okay, Loomis is dead, blew up in the fire. Michael is fucking in a coma or whatever the fuck again. And, that's fine. I would just take it from there. It's just, I don't know why they wanted to get rid of two. You could have just, I think all right, they wanted to get rid of the brother and sister angle.
Yeah.
Um, listen, you could work around anything.
Yeah. Oh, there was another Myers family with a kid born, and we mixed up I mean, it's stupid and
Oh,
ham-fisted, but like, no. What I'm saying is, Laurie isn't. Even though you have two, there was something got fucked up, and there was another family with a similar name. So I'm not really his sister. Blah blah blah. I mean, you could do that, I guess. But
yeah.
um, all right, man. I think we're good. I think we covered it as much as we can without belaboring the point. But um, my goal with this, not just to talk to you because I like talking to you, but aside from that, was there's been a lot of infighting, a lot of people just going crazy. I'm even seeing TikTok posts of like, you're not a Halloween fan, you're a Michael Myers fan if you didn't like this movie. It's like, guys, this is not Citizen Kane. This is not The Godfather. It's
Yeah,
Halloween.
the thing about the internet now is, 20 years ago, I would never be privy to all these absolutely stupid opinions. Like I would never know. I would never know. I would never know what some guy in fucking Michigan is thinking about it, and my life would be so much richer for that. So like I don't really um I guess I read on occasion like my friends post and stuff, and when something is so accessible as to putting on a fucking TV and putting on Peacock and being like, "Hey, I haven't watched a Halloween in 25 years, but everyone's talking about ends," and then you put it on, you're like, it's 10 minutes in. This isn't even scary." It's like, how fucking old are you? Like, what, like scary?
Yeah,
it
how many horror movies scare you anymore as a grown ass man?
Listen, cancer and unemployment. Those are the only two things. Other than that, it's like, what are you talking? Like, what are you, 12? Fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, I agree. Hey, plug whatever you're working on now. I know you got some videos and stuff coming out that you've been talking about on social media, so go for it, man.
Yeah, wow, for sure. Wow, we've been making a record for a long time, unfortunately. So yeah, we have a new single out. It's up on Spotify. The video comes out on Halloween. The whole EP is called Something from Nothing. It features our good buddy Mark O'Connell from the band Taking Back Sunday on drums, which is pretty cool. And that should be out hopefully by the end of the year. And we have a lot of cool stuff lined up. And that's about it. Check the band out. Check Red River Podcast. Stupid name, I know, but bear with us.
That's cool, man. You must be a master networker because you've name dropped some people you've made connections with, and drummer from Taking Back Sunday,
I
and
mean, we're both from Long Island. It's not that hard.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
someone from Ohio doesn't understand that necessarily.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like it's just we're from the same planet. Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. All right, man. Hey, I appreciate the time. I appreciate your opinions, and I really wanted to not only talk to you for a while, but get the opinion of a longtime Halloween fan that actually enjoyed the movie, and to go back and forth about that and the franchise. Check out Red River Podcast. I know they're on Twitter at RRP_NY. They're on Instagram _Red_River_podcast.
Yeah. I never use Twitter, but yeah.
Okay. That's all right. But yeah, check out Red River Podcast, and also playing that on Spotify and Bandcamp too as well, correct?
Everywhere, you listen to music, you'll find it.
Anywhere, everywhere, all at once. So thanks, Sam. I'll let you get on with the rest of your night. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Anytime, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Sure. Thanks, Sam. Talk to you later.
Later.